People, I have waited all week for this. I want you to clap before we start talking. There has been a subject that's been near and dear to my heart, relationships. How many of you know that relationships affect everything we do? How we see each other, how we treat each other, whether on the job, whether it's in our marriage, whether it's just being single. How many people I've noticed this year, I used to think if I was rich, I didn't have problems. I really did. How many have prayed that prayer? If I just had some money, I wouldn't have this problem. Do you know this year how many millionaires killed themselves? Or the guy that got cancer jumped off the bridge in L.A., a millionaire. Or the actor in New York, OD, a millionaire. Michael Jackson, paying someone millions of dollars to put him to sleep from his pain. Why? Broken relationships. So it's just been a burden on my heart to talk about relationships. And I just want to thank the panel of my guests. They have allowed me the awesome opportunity to talk about relationships unscripted. Because I feel like in the church, we tend to give people our church answer. Do you agree? Amen. And people are hurting. And a lot of times when you're hurting, even though we are saved, we feel like, who can we really tell how we really feel? So a lot of times people come to church and they feel spiritually bound because they wish they could be like you. You got it going on, pretty dimple, smile, serving God, don't look like you got a problem in the world. So I can't come to her. She's not going to understand I'm struggling with my sexuality. He's been married to his wife a long time. He's not going to understand. I'm dating all these women. I just can't seem to find what I'm looking for. I don't really trust women anymore. So how am I supposed to be married to someone? Everybody I reach to just seem like they want to run game. So I just started running game with them. We're going to have a talk today. So y'all ready to get in the session? So I want y'all to give them their hand again because this is definitely going to be unscripted. So I want to start with the single, 7 years. And I remember when my girls were young, it was important to me to be a good mom because I saw times changing. And I remember one daughter told me, Mom, don't you want a boyfriend? No, I'm going to be your boyfriend because I'm going to be here when you go to school and I'm going to be here when you get home. So that was an easy buffer for me because I made my time my daughters. But when they left, I realized I had a lot of time. And our idle mind is what? And there's a lot of devils out there to work your shop if you let them. And so I found out that it's weird when you've been a mom and then being a mom and a minister and then you go in the store and somebody's noticing you like they want to get with you and you thinking, really? Because you're not looking at yourself like that. But then all of a sudden, the kids are gone. You're not the evangelist in the pulpit. All of a sudden, you find yourself, hey, maybe I need to return this phone call. So for me, this was birthed out of me deciding one day to give some brothers a chance to return some phone calls. And my response was, what the what? Is this what's going on dating in church now? I began to think, I was sitting in church one Sunday morning, and I had shared this with Brother Sajay when I told him, I said, I want you to talk on my talk show. I said, but I'm telling you it's unscripted because I was sitting in church one Sunday morning, and don't nobody write me. If God didn't download this information with you, maybe he couldn't trust you with it. But it was on the Sunday morning that CSI came before me. And when you're watching CSI, they're looking for that crime. But that criminal done cleaned up the crime scene. And to the natural eye, you can't see nothing. But when they turn that fluorescent light on, all of a sudden you start seeing things you didn't see. I wasn't looking for nothing on nobody. I'm not perfect myself, but I am saved. And all of a sudden, I start seeing things hanging out folks' mouth. I start seeing fingerprints places. And I was like, God, what in the world is going on? He said, this is what I want you to deal with. He said, now I want you to understand. You're going to be rebuked. You're going to be criticized. You're going to be rejected. But you need to talk about it. I allowed men to approach you that way so you can know what some other brothers or sisters are going through. I used to have the misnomer to think God will keep those who want to be kept. I had friends that came to me, found themselves in situations. One lady I knew was old-fashioned saved. Went out with the wrong guy, got date raped, got pregnant. Couldn't bear to have the baby. Now you're saved, raped, and have an abortion. I don't believe in abortion, but I found myself in an abortion clinic. Was it more important for me to hold on to my belief or be there for my friend? One of the hardest things I ever had to do. So I had to, sometimes we find ourselves in situations. So, but I had the attitude still. I didn't tell her. Are you sure you got raped? Are you sure things didn't just get out of hand? You know things can get a little heated. I'm old school. When in the country they used to say when the street light go off, get in the house. I kind of had that same motto for men. I don't put myself in positions where I go out late at night with you. I'm not going to meet you for the first time and go into your house. It ain't happening. I don't care how many scriptures you quote. You're going to meet me somewhere where it's a whole bunch of people and a whole bunch of light. And whether you don't know it or not, I will have already told 2 or 3 of my friends and some family members that I'm with somebody. I begin to say, this is how things are happening because we're too grown for our own good. Trust is earned and is not given. So it would not be unamazing, should I say. That's not even make up a word. That the first person who want to raise up her hand is my daughter. She was like, wait a minute. I'll let Ms. Thomas, you want to respond to that?
Yes. I just want to clarify because people act like sex only happens at night. And things only happen to you if you have put yourself or allowed yourself to be in a situation where somebody has chosen to dishonor you. And I don't want to give that misconception to people who are watching that have been raped or have been put in a situation where they did not provoke something. Because I was just reading a statistic, watching the Steve Harvey show just last week, that 25% of everybody who's been on a college campus that's a woman has been raped. 90% of them are raped by people that they know. So I don't want you to think that you've been with your friend of 13 years and they rape you and you like, oh, well, maybe I should have thought about, well, should I have went to that study group or should I believe that? So we don't want to give the impression that if something happens to you, that it's your fault. Because some people just are bad people and they make bad decisions.
Okay. And that's a good point. And what I was alluding to, and I'm glad you corrected that because this is live TV. And you know once it goes out, you can't get it back. And I was saying that my prejudice mind, I was saying to myself, well, I've been going out all these years. I don't put myself in these situations. Did she really get put in this situation or did things get out of hand and now she's embarrassed? So let's talk about that aspect of it. I know you've been married for a minute now. How long, Reverend Walden?
It will be 18 years this coming April. 18 years.
We got to cut the mic on.
You got it. You just turned it right.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be 18 years this coming April that I've been married. We've been together for 22 years.
Awesome.
You have to plan situations out. If you're a single person dating, you have to plan and have a focus on wanting to make it a holy relationship.
Yes.
If you don't have those desires, it's not going to happen. If a guy is at a level where he wants to try to force himself on you, you need to make sure that you're in a place where, like you said, people are, and you don't need to set yourself up to have a meeting with him anyway. Before you go on a date, you need to get a conversation on the telephone and get to know the person because you don't know where they're coming from. You need to be prayerful. You need to have a mind to hear what they're saying and have discernment. Because people that talk a game, they may say everything that's nice to you to get you feeling good about the situation, and it's all a part of their plan. Because a person, if they have a mind to be a con man or a con artist, when they walk in the church, if God doesn't change their heart, those characteristics are going to be there.
Awesome. Awesome.
It's going to be there.
And I think that you hit it on the nail. He couldn't have said that aspect better because I think a lot of times we feel because somebody's in church that they're saved. And I always say You know, the game didn't change, just the players. Ray Ray in church, he just changed his location. Shay Nene in church. She the spiritual predator. She's seeking out not only her potential husband, but your husband. She don't care who she needs to get her bills paid. You know, I know you got such a good husband. And that's another thing that I want to ask from a married perspective. What about, how do you feel about, and I'm going to ask your wife first, and then I'm going to ask you the husband. I see sometimes these, I call them spiritual compliments with the underlying taking. You ever felt those things? Where somebody's giving you a lot of, oh, I know you such a good brother. Your wife is so lucky to have you. How do you feel that? You know, as a woman, I think a lot of men, and it's women on the panel, I'm going to survey you guys. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times men think we're jealous or we're overprotected. But women have this alert, this radar that goes off in us about other women. And she doesn't have to, I don't care, she can be saying all the right things for the right reasons. Right. But you can feel that radar to say, you won't be coming over my house. And if I catch you talking to her when I'm at church, it's going to be a problem. While we shouting, you be sitting up there doing like, yeah, I see you, girl. Mm-hmm. So you've been married how long?
It will be 29 years in June.
Oh, that's good. That hand clap. So have you experienced that, or how do you feel about that?
I have, and I've told my husband this morning, I'm putting my disclaimer out with you right now. I get very serious and probably talk a whole lot, and I say I'm going to put mine out now. I love you a whole lot, and I'm sorry. Anything is going to offend you beforehand. But yes, I've run into that quite a bit, and you know, it's just the thing about you just have to walk in instant forgiveness. And a lot of time our brothers do not understand that we are the same women, and we can pick up on those different spirits in the different women's. And sometimes they're just really sisters that really just need another sister's support. But they have, like me, grew up that you've been in a situation where you just not trusted women because women are hateful. You know, we are hateful to one another. I'm not saying no race or anything like that. It's just like I can walk in a room, and when I walk in there, you feel all these different spirits, you know, just hovering, and then they looking at you like, who she thinks she is. She thinks she's so much, and I don't think I'm nobody but who God made me to be. Amen. And my husband, my desire is that I reflect God and do what his will is in everything I do. But like you say, when that situation come up, I say, you don't know me. I tell them they don't know me. If they knew me, there wouldn't even be a problem, you know. Yeah. We just keep going.
All right, well, I want to get your perspective as her husband. When those situations happen, how do you handle that?
You know, you're just bringing back the story of Abraham and Sarah and Hagar. And I think about the idea that God had to tell him. See, sometimes us men, we just kind of walk on I would call a different plane than women do. Women are more instinctive than men are. And because they're instinctive, they pick up a lot of different things that we just would walk by and we wouldn't even notice that it was going on. And so sometimes we have to be either quickened in our spirit. God has to speak to us because we just walk past things. We're more concrete and we're more driven. Yeah. And because of that characteristic in men, then we miss a lot. When she's flirting, we don't even pick it up as flirting. You know, she was just really just commenting this. But you're more on in that area because it's something that I think more the women probably would do it more than men would. Men, they just come straight out. They don't usually kind of manipulate. They just come and boldly do things. And that's just part of the characteristic of a man.
And I think you said something very important because now I used to think that way with the men, but how many really have paid attention to how men have changed these days? It used to be that the man would seek after you.
Yeah.
But now they sit back and they don't have to do anything.
They don't have to.
They want you to chase them. And I'm a country girl. And when I grew up in the country and I would see that rockwaller running down the street after the cat, that was normal. I came to the city and the rockwaller was running, the cat was at, and the rockwaller up the tree. And I was like, what's really going on up in here? But I'm like, and it makes you really not want to get involved because it's devaluing. Well, you haven't called me. Really? My dad raised 6 girls. I know what a man looks like. I had the opportunity to have a good father. And for men that's on this panel, I will tell you, a good father makes a decision. A girl makes better decisions. I could tell some brothers to go up the road to this day because there was nothing that Wilmer Thomas wouldn't give me because he had these babies. And I'm just going to tell them, maybe my mom will see this, but I can't change who my daddy was. My daddy was exactly 30 years older than my mother. He had been married before. His wife had died of untimely death, met a young girl. You guys on the panel, I know some of y'all can't say nothing because your wife here. But once she gone, you trade us in for a younger model. Go try to get that luxury car, that old Lincoln. You want that sports car. Ooh, finally, she gone. I love Mary when she was alive. But you go get that sports car. So he married my mom. So in that, though, I looked at the fact, he was 51. He was 49 when my brother was born. 51 when I was born. Had 5 other girls after that. But I watched that man get up every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, work 2 and 3 jobs, because nobody was going to tell his kids what they couldn't have, because he could sit at home back then in the day. He was an ex-veteran, and he was drawing $3,000 back in the day. $3,000 would be a lot of money now. In the early 60s, 70s, that was a lot of money. So, and then he had retired from the railroad. So saying all that to say, but he made these babies. They wanted things. So he worked extra that we could have things. So when I encounter someone, and I always tell my daughters and I tell my sisters, usually, and I want your guys' opinion on this, I'm making this statement for a reason. Usually when a guy, if he's interested and he meets you, he puts his best foot forward up front. If you meet a guy and he tells you up front what he's not going to be able to do or what he's not going to be able to or willing to do for you, then he's telling you up front that he's not going to make that extra effort when you get married or when he dates you, because you put your A game on when you're trying to get somebody. So if you're making excuses and I haven't came out the box, what are you going to do when I sign on dotted line? Turn the remote control. But I want to flip something, because the Carter sisters was here earlier watching this segment. And I want to flip the script, because you're nice-looking women. And we saw it from the perspective of the woman that's loose coming at her husband. But what about the woman that's married and broken and is deciding you are a threat just because of the way you look, mislabeling you to be something that you're not, and all you did was speak to her and her husband? How do you handle that? Have you ever encountered that?
Okay. We encounter that a lot. I just believe that women nowadays, I guess, a lot of times are insecure, especially in the church, because that's where we are. I just think that you have to be secure within yourself. And I do know that sometimes you think it's you, but it's really something behind the scenes going on with that relationship. Maybe that woman, that married woman, has had issues in the past with her husband, that there may have been some infidelity, there may have been some questionable things where there's a trust issue. And so you come on the scene just saying, hey, hello, and everybody's looking at you crazy, but you just have to, yourself and be comfortable, with that, and don't, be offended, because you. I know me. I've been with me all my life, so I know me, and so I know what I'm going to do in any circumstance.
Okay. Well, as you know, we've had a long talk show today. We had a lot of subjects to discuss. How many of you would like to continue this conversation at a later date? Would you be willing to come back? Because I really wanted to go ahead and introduce it to the crowd, but I'm going to do a clean sweep. I want just one, in 1 minute or less, tell me what you would like to see change and what you would like to talk about on your next segment. And I thank all of you for being on the panel, and I thank all of you for, is it 1 o'clock? Oh, okay. We went, okay. Just quickly, well, for the sake of time, we'll just have to pick this up. I just found out from our producer that I wanted everybody to have something to say, but we're gonna have to go ahead for the sake of time. But on the 9th, put it on your calendars. May the 9th, we're gonna finish this conversation, real talk for real people, dealing with the issues that the church sweeps under the rug. Thank you for coming out today, and I just want to appreciate you.